All right, welcome everybody. It's Nick here. I've got Brigitte Calvert with me.
Hello everybody.
Brigitte's our Learning and Development Manager here at Open Door Coaching Group. It's great to have you here today looking at this Coaching Cafe topic of coaching through the eyes of the assessor. We're going to have a bit of a deep dive into what the assessors look for. So I'm going to hand over to what's your name? Brigitte. And we'll get started.
Terrific, thanks Nick, and welcome everyone to Coaching Through the Eyes of the Assessor. So today we are going to talk about what the difference is between a competent coaching recording and a not yet competent coaching recording. Alternatively, not just the recordings, but also to in terms of your written work as well, to a certain extent. What makes an assessor's heart sing and what makes it sink. And the intention around this webinar is to create a feel of community and to create a shared learning experience, as well as having some thought-provoking conversations. And please feel free to ask any questions or make any comments in the question box. So, coaching recordings. In your certificate for program, you are required to complete 4 coaching recordings. If you're a face-to-face student, 3 of those will be done in your face-to-face program, and 1 needs to be submitted at the end of your program. If you're an online student, all 4 of them need to be submitted online for assessment. And the best way to utilise or use those coaching recordings is to submit a variety of coaching models and tools for assessment. So your first one, which you'll find in your 4th module, is around a full grey model, which is your foundation coaching model. And the other 3 will be a variety of coaching models and tools of which you would like to get feedback on. So there's no necessary or specific coaching models you must submit. But as long as you're submitting a good variety and things that you would like to get some feedback on, that's what I would recommend. And certainly you're welcome to send me through an email or give me a call to discuss that further if you like. So practicing your coaching models as you see them in your modules. I know that I get some people making comment that sometimes it doesn't feel natural when you're reading coaching models from a book. And yes, that is absolutely true when you're first learning a coaching model. But with your practice, those models become familiar and you start to to have conversations with them rather than reading them, and start to add and modify and delete certain questions and add ones that you like, and mix models together so that you create your own coaching conversation experience. So you can review the coaching demonstration sheet on the Open Door Online website as well to give you an idea of the things that we are looking for when you are coaching. As well as going to the ICF website, and you can actually Google core competencies or PCC markers to get insight into what the core competencies are, as well as the markers that are behaviours to demonstrate that show that you are actually coaching using those core competencies. So practice, 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 and you'll find at the end of each module you will need to complete a coaching session as coach, as well as be coached for a coaching session so that you get that experience as well. The more coaching practice you do, the more confident your coaching recordings are going to sound. Okay, so what I guess presents itself as being a competent coaching recording? Well, to allow the coachee to find their own answers is really, really important. If you refer to the characteristics of a great coach, you will find that part of being a great coach is to allow the coachee to find their own answers and put aside the mentoring, the supervising, the managing, perhaps the counselling, any other tools or techniques that we are great at, put them aside so we can just focus on the coaching skill when we're demonstrating this for assessment. So making sure that you're establishing a coaching agreement, having a really clear goal at the start of your session, or certainly within the first 10 or 15 minutes of that session. But it's not only around creating the coaching agreement for the overarching goal, but it's also around creating an agreement for this conversation in relation to that goal. So what is the overarching goal, but also what is it that you want to get out of this conversation in relation to that goal, so that people have something to walk away with, or an outcome for that particular conversation. Trust and rapport, obviously is important for a coaching conversation. Building that trust, having that trust, building rapport with your coachee prior to beginning your coaching session. You want to make sure that person is offering you 100% as much as you're offering them 100%, and trust and rapport and creating that intimacy is crucial to having a successful coaching relationship. And that can be expressed through demonstrating support for your coachee through your coaching session, and also allowing that coachee to really express themselves in that coaching session, staying out of the space and respecting what they're coming up with. Being non-judgmental. It's not for us to judge whether somebody's story or their content or their topic is right or wrong. As individuals, we may have an opinion if we're having a conversation with a friend or a colleague, but when we're coaching, we're really stepping out of that space and wearing a different hat, so that we can allow the coachee to really explore what it is for them that's important. And we're really standing on the sidelines, essentially, to encourage that person to explore their topic. Asking questions with a genuine curiosity and purpose. So rather than leading somebody down a particular path that you think perhaps they should or could go because you have, your own experience with it, actually asking questions with a genuine curiosity because you don't know the answer. That's really important in the coaching space. When you're asking questions, what's the purpose of asking that particular question? Are you asking a question because you want more of the content or want more of the story? Or are you asking a question with purpose so that you are supporting that person to move from where they are now to where they want to be? So take time to consider the questions that you're asking. Sometimes I think subliminally we like to think that we need to know every detail of the story to be able to help, and that's certainly not true. We need to be really great at our coaching models and tools and getting a real feel for valuable questions to ask to help that person shift from where they are to where they want to go. Another thing to remember or to consider is asking one question at a time. Sometimes stacking questions can be a little confusing. We might be rewording a question or thinking as we're speaking, and therefore we tend to demonstrate maybe one question on top of another. If you can, stop and think about the question that you want to ask before asking that question. It's okay to leave some space and take a moment to think about the right question. And you can say so to your client, to your coachee if you want, just that you're taking a second to really create the right question or find the right question so that it's a valuable question. Typically, in your coaching conversations, you want the coachee to be speaking around 80% of the time and the coach around 20% of the time. Open questions are really important. That's going to elicit more information, of course, from your coachee. And for them to be able to do that, staying out of the space and allowing that to happen is really important. And being 100% focused on the coachee and their conversation. If we're actively listening to that person, we will know which question to ask. I know that when we're beginning coaches and we're learning models and tools, we're bound to a certain extent to what we see in those modules, so that we are learning those modules and practicing those modules. But I can't stress enough, the more you practice, the more you coach using those models, the more the questions will become ingrained, and you start to build your toolkit so that you can actually start asking questions more naturally and smoothly, and understanding what's the most appropriate question to ask depending on the content or the topic that you've been given. So those are the sorts of things in terms of competent coaching recordings I would be looking for. And again, highlighting that if you were to have a look at the ICF core competencies, which you can find if you Google that, and look at the PCC markers within each core competency to give you an idea of the behaviours that we would like to see. The PCC markers, you don't need to demonstrate all of those at Certificate 4 level, but it will give you really good insight into the types of things that we're looking for when you're coaching according to those core competencies. So take a look at that, as well as our own coaching demonstration recording sheet, which you'll find on the Open Door Online website. Not yet competent. So, you know, if you find that you've received a not yet competent result for your coaching recordings, that's okay. That it just means just re-look at, or perhaps add something more in. You can always, it's not a fail. Please don't believe it's failure. It's only feedback, and it gives you an opportunity to then resubmit that recording and just have a look at the feedback, because you will find that when you get your result online, if you go in and actually read the feedback that's been given, and certainly more than happy to discuss it with you over the phone as well if there's a not yet competent result. So, you know, the types of things that will suggest a not yet competent coaching recording would include if you were telling somebody what to do or advising them what to do, mentoring them and giving them, you know, this is what happened for you, or your advice. This is what happened for you in the past, or what you think might work. Those skills are appropriate when you're mentoring or supervising or managing, not when we're coaching. So we need to stay out of that space. Judging and giving your opinion is also not something that when we're coaching is a valuable skill. Leading questions. Leading questions sound like you want your coachee to go down a certain path. You know, have you thought about doing this instead? For example, might be a leading question, as if you had something in your mind that you wanted your coachee or your client to see. That's a leading question. So stay away from those and make sure that you're asking your questions with that genuine curiosity for the coachee to find their own answers. Sometimes we think that we're helping when we have something to offer, but every time we offer something or give advice or lead someone down a certain direction, we're taking away that opportunity for them to find that solution for themselves. And even though something might work well for us, doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way for that other person. We all know what it's like when we're told what to do, or we're given advice or something, told what to do rather than finding out for ourselves the difference, and that feeling is quite significant. So practice doing that, because I know it can be tricky, given we tend to do these things in our regular lives. It's quite normal as a human being to do those sorts of things, but when we're putting on our coaching hat, we need to refrain, and that can take some practice to do that too. The stacking questions, you know, whilst it's not going to be not yet competent if I'm just hearing a few stacking questions, I will make note of that, just to be mindful to ask that one question at a time. A lot of closed questions. You know, closed questions are really valuable for, you know, gaining that commitment, eliciting that you know, that commitment from someone to do something, which is great. But the more open questions are going to offer more and have a better conversation and allow that coachee to explore their story and their topic further. Asking questions for more of the story, which, I spoke about earlier. Be aware of your questioning. For what purpose are you asking your questions? Make sure it's to move your coachee or your client further along their path rather than you just gaining more information for your own interest or your own benefit, so that you have more of the story, because it's not for you to solve. Remember that. It's for your coachee to solve. Jumping into the space. Please stay out of the space when your client or coachee is speaking. If they're speaking, we're not. If we are speaking and they jump in, we stop. Just allow them that space to think, reflect, talk and explore. And when the coach is talking a lot too, I think when the coach is talking a lot, that takes away time for the coachee to explore their own perspectives as well. So, what makes the heart sing? Please feel free to, if you have any questions or any comments that you'd like to make, I welcome you to add those to the question box if you like. What makes the heart sing? Demonstrating the foundations of coaching practice and skill development. So all of the things we just talked about there, it's clear when I'm hearing coaching demonstrations through recordings, if you've embraced the information in your modules and taken on board the content in those modules, I can hear it in your coaching, coaching conversations. So really practice those coaching models. Really become familiar with those questions. Play around with them. Mix them up. Try them on differently. Try different models for different scenarios and different topics, and see how they work. Use those models in different situations. Some of them work better with different topics and different conversations. Some will work better depending on the time available that you have. So they all have great purpose and potentially for different reasons. So play around with them and have a practice. We can hear it when you're coaching. That demonstrates that you've read the materials. That's another point that's listed there. This also counts for when you're submitting your written work as well. It's quite clear when you've actually read the material and submitted some thoughtful written work in response to the questions in those modules. It also demonstrates that you've put in some effort and you're actually engaged in your coursework. It's really wonderful to see when people have spent some time on their modules and really thought about and discussed the content so that they really take it on and take it into consideration to use when they're out there practicing their coaching skill. Participate in coaching practice. Jump onto the Facebook page and connect with people and have discussions. Attend the webinars like you are today. That positive self-concept. Believe that you can, believe that you are able to embrace all of these skills and empty the glass. Look for the things that you don't know. You certainly bring a lot of skill with you to the table. That's fantastic. You've got more to add, and it's about demonstrating that flexibility as well in your styles. And enjoy it. Enjoy the course. While you're involved in your Certificate 4 or your diploma course, use all the resources available to you. Be that us, be that the assessor, be that the facilitators, be that the other students on Facebook. So really immerse yourself in what's available to you, and we're always ready and willing to support you to achieve the results that you're looking for. Okay, so what makes the heart sink? One-liners and scribble is probably, is a demonstration to me that perhaps you're not as focused or committed to the course or the qualification as perhaps we would like to think. So it makes a big difference. And I tend to, unless those one-liners are fairly succinct and actually respond to the question that's asked, typically they'll go back to the owner and I'll ask for more. So whilst I don't have, I'm not a real stickler for it must be, so many words. What I do want to see is that you're demonstrating a good understanding of the question or the content. What we all here want for you is to walk away being a confident and competent coach, and that is demonstrated through what you submit online or submit as as written work or as coaching recordings. So please take the time to immerse yourself in those modules and respond in a way that really demonstrates a good understanding of what you're learning. And if you have any questions or comments, we're always here to help you and to discuss anything that you want to talk about. If you want to challenge anything, we're more than happy to do that as well. Have those conversations. So please, we welcome that opportunity. Okay, holding on to previous beliefs and not allowing the glass to empty. Okay, this relates really to the skill set that we come to the table with. We all have skill sets we already have, which is fantastic, and they're all valuable. They're not necessarily coaching skills. So whilst they're appropriate for certain situations, what we're looking for here is the coaching skill. So make sure that while you're learning a coaching skill, if you have any other skills, put them aside for a moment and just demonstrate the coaching skills so that I know that you are clear and confident and competent in those particular skills that we're looking for. So add it to your current toolkits. You don't need to get rid of anything that you bring to the table, but for the coaching qualification, that's what we're demonstrating here. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that any other skill set you have isn't right or isn't correct or isn't valuable. It is. It's just that that's the coaching skill is what I need to hear and is what I need to see when assessing your work. So, any other ideas? If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make in regard to anything that we've talked about, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you don't have questions right now, you are welcome to send me an email, Brigitte@opendoorcoaching.com.au, and I'm happy to answer or make a phone call or whatever it is that you need to support you in getting you to where you want to be and to complete your qualification.
Let's have a look here in the chat box and see if we've got... So, guys, now's the time for you to ask any questions you might have of Brigitte. It's a great opportunity now that you've got Brigitte here live on the line to ask any questions you might have about recordings and the levels. Michelle says, awesome webinar. Thanks, Brigitte.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome, Michelle. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, too, we've talked a lot today about the Cert 4, but, in our Cert 4, it's aligned to the ICF competencies as well. So if you're interested in coaching at the ICF competency level or credential level, then what we've said today really counts across as well. Alex says, just want to say thank you. You're very welcome, Alex.
Well, thanks, Alex.
It's great to see you on the line.
Yeah, I mean, those the ICF core competencies that you find, if you were to do that Google search, it will come up with those core competencies with the markers attached to them. And they are the behaviours to demonstrate to be at that ICF credentialed level. So, at some time, I'm happy to discuss that further if need be. Okay, so, 30-minute mark.
For the question, yeah,
Alex.
What length of time should they be?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So the length of time for your coaching demonstration recordings should be around 30 minutes. So thank you. Give or take is fine. But around, if you can aim for 30 minutes-ish, they can range. I mean, I get people sending recordings up to an hour, and that's fine too. I don't want you to cut cut a conversation short if it's going further than the 30 minutes, but just to give you an indication, the 30 minutes is fine. If it ends up being an hour, that's fine too. That's no problem. So anywhere between 30 and 60 minutes as a recording is perfectly fine. And it really gives me a good idea as to how you are using particular models. I don't want you to rush them. I don't want you to cut things out just to try and fit a 30-minute criteria. Please don't do that. I would prefer to hear the coaching session and the recording as it comes to me, as it happened naturally. That would be a much better idea. So yeah, thanks. Keep that in mind.
Awesome. Anne-Marie says, great tips, Bridget. Can never hear them enough. Great.
Terrific. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie's just graduated from our Cert 4.
Yes.
Congratulations. Ros says, thank you. Even as alumni, this is useful. Yeah, it's always good to keep up to date and brushing up.
Yeah.
Alex, yep, you're very welcome. Thanks for qualifying.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we're mindful of the time. We're a few minutes away from 12:30. I know that some people will have to leave very soon. Next week's webinar is all around having great performance-based conversations, end-of-year performance conversations. Is one that's always very popular and one that we always get a lot of questions around. So if you haven't already, jump onto the website and register for that. You go up to leadership development, I think it is, the free webinars. You can register there. We'll also email you out next week as well. So that's a good one not to be missed. A lot of people are sort of saying to us at the moment that they're coming up to end of year performance reviews and want to do it well. So that webinar is going to focus in on that. So it sounds like everyone's asked their questions.
Okay, well, thanks everyone for joining. And as I said, if you have any questions, Phil's got a question there, I think.
We go. Phil, how can we access the webinar afterwards? So Phil, the recordings of the webinars are always available in the student group on Facebook. So if you're in the student group on Facebook, we'll load the webinar recording up into there. Give us a call or email us if you need help accessing that.
And any other questions, you're more than welcome to just send me through an email, bridget@opendoorcoaching.com.au, or give me a call, and I look forward to speaking with you sometime down the track.
Great. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. It's Nick and Bridget here from Open Door Coaching. We'll leave you there. We'll see you on the webinar next week. Bye for now.
Bye for now.